This show is sponsored by Horizon HVAC, who you can count on for all of your heating and cooling needs. Today's episode is brought to you by Burns Roofing, your trusted roofing experts right here in Rhode Island. Whether you're in need of repairs, a roof full replacement, or just some professional advice, Burns Roofing has you covered. With their years of experience and commitment to quality, you can rest easy knowing your home is in good hands. Call Burns Roofing for all your roofing needs. All right, we're back with the Mindset Radio podcast. We're sitting here with Connie Stowers, also known as TheRealEskater. How are you doing, Connie?
I'm fantastic. I'm sitting with you guys.
Yeah, thank you for coming in. This has been a long time coming.
Yes, we've talked about this for a while, and schedules we couldn't get the schedules to align.
Yeah, I want to go back to kind of what we were just talking about like how when you are an entrepreneur and or a real estate agent, which I consider an entrepreneur, that's a lot of freaking work.
Yeah.
How when we're on green and we're on go mode, it's hard to shut off at sometimes.
Oh, it's more stressful to shut it off than I think it is to just go, go, go. You know, like there are days where I'm like, okay, my body's tired, my mind's tired, let's rest. And then as I'm resting, I think to myself, could I possibly do something productive while I'm resting? What can I edit? What kind of ideas can I do? So I think when you're in a build phase, right? Like I think entrepreneurs were always building, but there are certain moments where that build has momentum. And those are moments that are really hard to pull back. And people don't understand that. I get it a lot from my family. Like, you need to take a break. You need a moment. Like, you got to pull back. But
they're not entrepreneurs.
They're not entrepreneurs, no. And real estate agents, you know, depending on how you run your business, like, you know, I've got a brokerage where I hang my license and he's fantastic. But like, I run my business, I market myself, I do my own branding. I do my own branding. And so I think that like a lot of people don't consider real estate agents entrepreneurs, but 1000%, like you get your own clients, you advertise yourself, you market yourself, and there's no money if you're not out there. If you're not out there getting the business, there is no business.
There is no business. What's one of the top resources that you have right now for bringing in business?
Social media.
Yeah.
1000% for me. You know, so
the market's a mess right now, huh?
So it depends on who you ask and what you're doing. So like I focus very heavily on the 5 Ds: death, divorce, disability, diapers, downsizing. If you're doing any of those 5 things, you are in a major life transition. And as somebody who specializes in major life transitions, because I've been through quite a bit, my business right now is popping off because the only people who are moving are people who have to, right? Like you're having a baby, you need to expand. You're getting divorced, you need 2 households. You're older, you're ready to get rid of your house, you're going to downsize or go to assisted living. So I've put my focus in that part of the market because there's always going to be real estate to sell every single day. There's always houses to close. You just need to know what deals to go after.
That's a really good point. I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
Have you?
How do you go about finding those particular Ds?
So, you know, different people have different ways. Like there are going to be people who read obituaries. That is not my, I am not an obituary chaser. Like that's not my jam. So for me, I think because I've been so transparent on my social media about the transformation and transitions I've had in my life. I've had a baby. I've gone through a divorce. We've had a lot of death and loss in my family. The downsizing piece, just that more so, I think I gain a lot of trust and rapport because people know me. So they feel comfortable saying like my dad, my grandmother, my grandfather.
Yes.
So like, because if you watch my social, I don't talk about real estate a lot. Like I do my real estate videos, but for the most part, like I just show people who I am and know, like, and trust are always going to be the 3 things that drive you in sales.
True.
So that's just how I have like presented myself in the social media world, and it's translated into real estate sales for me.
It's the best way to build a brand is to let people inside of your life and let them see how you operate. The problem with that, though, that I find is most people that we've been meeting or networking with as of late, you find out that they're not the people that they say they are online. And that's my biggest beef. My biggest problem with like the Instagram space is when you meet somebody and you're like, all right, I think I might already know them a little bit because I've been watching them, I've been following them. And then come to find out they have no businesses. They have nothing that they are doing is legit, right? Their jewelry's rented, their cars are rented, everything is fake. And I get it, right? You have to fake it so you make it to a certain degree. I think that's part of the journey of growing yourself. You have to kind of put yourself in those shoes before you step in them. right? Before you walk in them, you have to kind of get a taste of what it's going to be like. So like, that was me anyway. Like when I first started, like 3 years ago, I'm like, all right, I want to get into business and I want to be the best businessman in Rhode Island. I was like, how am I going to move? Like, what are some of the people, who are the people I'm going to talk to? Where are the networks I need to get involved in? And slowly I started realizing that it's just like, be true to yourself, right?
Mhm.
And everything will fall into place. As long as you put in that hard work, the discipline, and you just be a good example to the people around you, it just kind of ends up coming together without you having to go, you know, reach for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true. It's actually funny. A friend of mine, she's like a newer friend, and she had said to me, "You've changed my opinion of online personalities because you're the same person off camera that you are on camera."
Which I can vouch, definitely.
Definitely,
I
yeah.
appreciate that. And I think there is something to be said about being authentic. And, you know, listen, there's a lot of stuff that goes on in my life that I don't share, right? I think
Right.
sometimes people also think they know the full story.
Mhm.
You're never going to know someone's full story unless they really go all out and do a tell all. That's for the book. It's
Right.
coming out in the next 5 years.
Ooh.
Yeah.
But, I think that there's something to be said about, like, if you want to show up on social media and be effective and be someone who's long lasting, you can't BS so much that when somebody meets you in person or starts to look behind the curtain, oh, everything you said, like, oh, this course that you've sold me, like that's a big thing, right? Everybody's selling a course, everybody's
Yeah.
selling an ebook. I have an ebook. Like I've got
Yeah.
a roller skating guide. But you want to make sure that what you're putting out there, that there's backing to it, because you see all these people selling all these things, but then you go to look at their credentials, like, what are your credentials? What
Yeah.
have you done to earn this?
And why am I
300,
listening to
500?
you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
why exactly? And I think I saw something recently about people, like you said, like they rent these cars, they rent these mansions, they record this content. That's not my brand. That's not my vibe. I understand how it could be effective for people, but
Which it definitely is. It
yeah,
can be, for sure.
It's a little misleading though
100.
if you haven't actually obtained that and it's yours.
Right.
Or at least say that it is, you know what I mean? Like
You can-
we
yeah, you could
rented the
present it
BMW out
like-
in California,
Right.
right? We didn't say it was a rental, but I mean, I think it was obvious we were out in California. We don't have cars out in California. Like there's some things that you don't need to say, but
Right.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying. Like at least like, make it be known that, hey, I'm doing this. I mean, I guess you don't need to
Well, you
tell
could
people.
say,
It's tough. I don't know. It's
Well, it's like the people who put themselves in debt to show up a certain way, right? Like
Yeah.
if you're putting yourself in massive amounts of debt to rent the designer clothes, the designer cars, to show up in a way
Yeah.
that is not authentic to your
Mhm.
situation, and then you're trying to teach people how to make money or how to be wealthy by 10 minutes a day, and you could be a
Yeah.
millionaire.
Right.
Like,
and you got
Yeah.
20 grand in your account.
yeah, I don't care what you sell me. If I could be rich in 10 minutes a day, we would all do it.
Facts.
So anyone who tries to sell you a program that says like it doesn't take hard work, bullshit.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You know what one of my favorite sayings is if it was that easy, everybody would do it. What do I
Yep.
say?
No, they wouldn't.
No, they wouldn't.
No, they
they
wouldn't.
probably wouldn't.
Well, that's like when people get nervous to share their trade secrets, right? Like I could stand in a room of 100 people
Right.
and tell you everything I did to change my life, to lose
Mhm.
100 pounds, to triple my business in 2 years. And there might be one person in that room that takes my secret sauce and goes and make it their
Absolutely.
own,
Yeah.
So like people are always so worried to like share their inside secrets.
Gatekeepers.
Like, yeah, like
Yeah.
listen, you have to have the right audience who wants to take that information and run with it. Half the time people absorb it, they nod and they walk out.
Yeah.
Like my goal on Sunday, when I'm speaking at the Rhode Island Women's Expo, and it's my first keynote speech, and I was talking to someone about it, and I was like, I just want to inspire everyone in the room.
Yeah.
And she said to me, that's not your goal.
Yeah.
Like your goal is to inspire one person in that room.
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
Plant the
And
seed.
yourself.
And myself.
And yourself.
Yeah.
Because like really what it comes down to is like it's gonna make you better. It's gonna make you better at public speaking. It's gonna get you more comfortable in front of a big crowd. It's working on you as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's rewind, and I want to hear the story of Connie, because you have made incredible accomplishments with your transformation in business, in life.
Yeah.
So let's go back to high school, Connie. Right? What were you like in high school? When did this transformation start? Like, let's just start digging into a little bit.
So in high school, I had a really tough time. I always wanted to fit in and I always wanted to be everyone's friend. So like I never had like a group of friends that I felt like I truly felt like I fit in with. And I think because I probably didn't know who I was.
Mhm.
I was very loud, very out there and outgoing. And not like I'm not now, but I think that like there was this version of me, Showtime Connie, like you walk in a room and I'm going to be the loudest person and I'm going to have all the attention. And I think it came off from a lot of people that I was really, oh, this confident girl. But I think there was a lot of insecurity there that really drove that.
Yeah.
And so I spend my life just really wishing that I had acceptance and love from everybody and seeking that validation for years. And a lot of that had to do, I had a lot of stuff go on in my childhood. One of my parents has been very sick most of my life, and it's just been something that has, I think, affected me deeper than I
It
thought
was
it
your
would.
father or your mother?
My mom.
Your mom.
Yeah. And so, when I got into college, and I really didn't drink in high school, I was brought up in a don't ever drink, don't ever do drugs. It's the worst thing you could ever do. So
Right.
I went to college, and all of a sudden it was like, wait a minute, nobody's watching.
Wait.
Hold up. And so, like, I would walk around with like a bottle of Smirnoff in one hand
Oh,
and a
wow.
Gatorade in the other. And I was blackout by 12. And that would 3-4 times a week. Like, this was a time of, hey, I'm pretty smart, so I can get by doing the bare minimum for schoolwork.
Mhm.
I have nobody telling me what to do. I have all this pain, hurt, and trauma that I'm trying to run away from at home. Let's just enjoy this moment. And so I went from like really never partying or never drinking that much in high school to a binge drinker in college. And the binge drinking really that was how I learned to drink, and then I never stopped.
Wow.
And I think if you think about the movies we watched, right? 10 Things I Hate About You, like all these movies that came out when we were younger,
Mhm.
glorified this college experience and this high school experience as being let's just party and let's have fun.
Right.
And that's how I saw it. I saw it as that opportunity. So that party girl mindset really stuck with me like all through my 20s and my early 30s. And it was just a way to escape all of like the pain and hurt. Like that hurt little girl inside could not find a way out of it without kind of drowning herself and constantly seeking that validation from other people and only feeling confident when she could have a couple drinks in her.
Mm.
Did you get to the point where you had like the shakes and everything?
No, it's so funny because people will say, like, were you an alcoholic? And I think it depends on how you look at it, right? Like, I didn't know how to drink without binge drinking. I didn't need to drink every day. But when I drank, it wasn't
You drank.
I'm just going to have one drink.
There is those two different things. I hear that a lot, actually. It's
Really?
like drinking wasn't my problem. It was being drunk. Or I forget what the saying
Well,
is.
drinking wasn't
What
my
is it?
problem. It was my solution.
Yeah, something like that.
Like
Yeah,
it wasn't, it wasn't like, oh, I need to drink every day. But I didn't have any hobbies. Like I remember thinking when I was going through my divorce and when I was considering not drinking anymore, I sat down and was like, okay, what hobbies do I have? Oh, none. Okay. The only hobby I have is going out
Drinking,
and
yeah.
drinking.
Yeah.
Every event that I would go to, are there going to be drinks there?
Mm.
The people I would spend time with were people I enjoyed spending time with when we would have drinks. So
Right.
it was a really eye-opening moment to see how many years I had spent not enjoying life the way it was meant to be enjoyed, but enjoying life the way it was presented to me. Hey, here's something you can do and go to, but there'll be drinks there.
Right.
Here's some people you can hang out with, and there'll be drinks there. So when I took that layer out, it really made me have to think about, okay, the last 20 years, what have I done that I did for me?
What were you doing for
Yeah.
work during that time?
So I was a retail store manager for right after college. I graduated in 2009, right when the Great Recession hit. Nobody, came out with this $160,000 degree and no job.
Yeah, I remember that.
So I went right into retail management, and then I got stuck there. It paid really well, good benefits. The schedule sucked, but it was something that I was good at. So I grew very quickly in those roles, and I worked for some big brands: Neiman Marcus, Victoria's Secret, Loft, Ann Taylor. And all of a sudden, I remember thinking, is this it?
Is this life?
Is this my life? Am I a retail store manager forever? And
How old were you at that point?
I was early. By the time I was really coming to the consideration of like, is this my life? I was probably 27, 28, but I still stayed in it for another 4 or 5 years.
Wow.
It was really hard to break out of it because number one, your schedule
The security.
it's
It's
security. You're exhausted all the time
Yeah.
because you're working all the time, and it paid well. And it wasn't incredibly hard. It was incredibly like time-wise,
Right.
energy sucking. Yes.
I wish more people understood how easy it is to really make that transition. It's easy in a sense of like physically easy, right?
Mhm.
If you put in the motivation, the hard work, the discipline into something else, like if you put in the 40 hours that you would do at a liquor store, right? And you go do something like learn a trade in HVAC or learn a trade in construction with the thought in mind that you're going to open up a construction company one day. That isn't that isn't a hard process, right? You just gotta the hardest part is leaving that liquor store because you're already getting, the
Everything's already
600,
done for
700 a
you.
week, right? Your
Yeah.
bills are paid to a very minimum. Obviously, you can't make a great living off that, but
Yeah.
when you're comfortable, you're comfortable. And complacency, that's when we stop growing, when we're complacent.
Yep.
When we're comfortable, I think we always need to be growing in a sense of like struggle. Like we always there's got to be some kind of struggle.
Yep.
You
And
know?
I actually think the hardest part about that big shift is it depends on who you are surrounded by. So when I told people, so I worked at Neiman Marcus when they were having some big transitions, they were closing down a lot of stores. My store got shut down. It was the only because it was an outlet division. And
Mm.
so I was faced with this, you're not going to have a job. You have 90 days. We're shutting down the store.
Wow.
That's when I got my real estate license. I had always wanted to do it because I had been told for years, you'd be great at it. You should be doing high ticket sales. I thought, oh, maybe. And this was a moment where I was like, okay, I need to go do something. I need a backup plan. And so I went and got my license. The day I got my license and took my test was like my last day in retail.
Wow.
And I got a job offer from Ann Taylor at that point in time. And I had a choice. Like I could have gone right into real estate from there or gone to this job at Ann Taylor and done real estate on the side. And everyone around me was like, you be crazy to go into real estate by yourself. Don't do it. Like you have to have the security. So I did. I went to the Ann Taylor job. And that was another probably 2 or 3 years of my life.
Wow.
And I built my real estate business very slowly because I didn't jump into the fire. When 2021 came and I made the decision to leave retail completely and go and pursue real estate full time.
It was 2021.
2021 is when I went
Got
full
it,
time.
got
Yeah,
it.
I was a new mom. I just had the baby. My marriage I knew was coming. I didn't know it was going to end, but it was not going well. I knew that there was a big shift happening.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of there was some conversations in those four walls where he did not want me to make this move. It was a big divide because I made the choice anyways.
He didn't want you to make the move full time into real estate.
Real
He did
estate.
not.
Was it because of the comfort that you guys had with your 9 to 5?
We had just bought a house, we had the baby, and he just felt very strongly that it was too risky of a move where we were. And I understood, and he wasn't wrong with the risk part. That wasn't, I agreed that it was a risk.
Do you think you would have figured it out if you would have made the move? I mean, hindsight's a bitch. Like you can't
Yeah.
obviously go back, but do you think that if you had the chance to do it full time at that moment, you would have just said, "Fuck it, we'll figure it out"?
I did say fuck it, and
Oh.
I went full time.
Oh, good.
was-
Okay.
And it
And
caused.
did you figure it out?
I
mean,
did.
look
and
at her
my
now.
marriage ended shortly afterward, but I figured it out.
Yeah, yeah.
There was obviously a lot of things that were going on. That wasn't the only reason,
Right.
but that was a big divide. I chose myself. I chose my path. I felt very strongly that although, and my question really was, have I ever failed at anything that I've put my mind to?
Oh.
And the answer was no, you haven't. Okay, so why would I fail at this?
Mhm.
I saw what could be, and I knew it was a risk and I knew it wouldn't be easy, but I also had complete delusional faith in myself that if I went and did this, I was going to be successful at it.
Mhm.
And so I think that's sometimes the hardest thing when you have, because he was not the only one, my siblings, my parents, everybody said
Isn't that
to me,
crazy? I think that's so
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
everybody said to me, you're absolutely nuts. You have a new baby. You have a brand new house. You cannot leave your salary cushion career that you've built to go pursue this dream of real estate. And I had to think to myself, everyone who's giving me advice, as much as I know they love me and I love them,
They're not doing what you want to do.
are they where I want to be?
Yeah.
Right.
And that moment taught me you cannot ask people for advice that are not where you want to be.
Right.
And it doesn't mean And it's so funny because when I announced that I was going full-time into real estate and leaving retail, the outpouring of love and support from people that know me outside of this world, right? People that knew me in high school, college, every DM I got was, can't believe it took you this long.
Aw.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Go
you're a
for it.
natural salesman.
Go
You're
for
not.
it.
You're a natural.
Yeah. Why am I going to go make money for somebody else?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Make it for myself.
Yep.
But it was something like I had to fight all that noise for a long time because, you know, I didn't become successful overnight. It definitely, I mean, there was a point in time I was down to $78, didn't know how I was going to pay the mortgage.
Yeah.
But that was because I had layered a divorce on top of it, right? So with all of the, when you make that shift to go into a full-time entrepreneurship career from a full-time salary career, it took me a year to understand the behaviors that are required and the discipline that is required to be successful. That did not happen overnight.
Yeah.
And I think that because I had money from the sale of our home, I had some savings, and I had some healing I had to do. So I was lucky that I could take that time to heal.
Yeah.
But when the money ran out, okay,
Yeah.
well,
It's a
healing's
new kind
healing's
of
been
healing.
nice, but let's go. Like we need to go.
Yeah. Let's talk about that healing process a little
Yeah.
bit. So, you fell into a hole, basically. You fell into a hole of depression. You gained a lot of weight,
Mhm.
and you got yourself out of it. But I want to know the first time you realized, like, all right, I got to make a change because, you know, I'm finally where I guess you could say that rock bottom. Everybody hits
Yeah.
that rock bottom where they're like, something's got to give.
Yeah.
I hit it. You probably hit it. Everybody's been there.
For sure.
Yeah.
Talk about that rock bottom and talk about what it took you to actually climb out of it. And if you want to talk about how you got there, that's fine. But we could talk
Yeah.
about more like the story of like getting past it.
Well, I think it's important to know that like you can hit rock bottom a couple times in your journey, right, to healing.
Definitely.
Because I think you have the ultimate rock bottom, and then you climb, but it's easy to sometimes fall back, right? Oh,
Yeah.
another rock bottom. We're not where we
Super
started,
low.
but we fell back a few notches. So first rock bottom was definitely that moment of, okay, I have gained 100 pounds in a year. Right.
Mm.
So I got married in 2019. I was in the best shape. At that time, it was the best shape of my life. I had always been a thicker woman, but I carried it well. And when I got pregnant and then COVID hit, now I'm secluded from the world. I'm eating my feelings.
Yeah.
And I've been put on antidepressants because they want me to not get depressed, right? They didn't
And
want
there's the
and
weight gain right
and
there.
the weight-
That's the combination.
the weight came on so fast, my head spun.
Mhm.
Like people thought I was having twins.
Were you
Wow.
taking like a benzo?
Yeah, I was
That's it.
on. So
Yeah.
at one point I was on Wellbutrin, Lexapro, Xanax.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And I didn't have Adderall anymore because I was pregnant, and it blew up.
Yeah.
And my relationship with food was already a hard thing. I already was a binge eater,
Yeah.
because now I can't binge drink, right?
Right.
So now we're just going to binge eat through this
Yeah.
entire pregnancy.
Oh my gosh.
So after the baby was born, I gained another 30 pounds. So I'd gained 70 in my pregnancy, and then I gained another 30 right after she was born because, once again, not leaving the house. Now I'm back to drinking, right? As soon as the baby goes to bed, we've pumped, we're good. Okay, let's go have a glass of wine or a bottle, or a bottle and a half. Okay, great, because we're stuck
Right.
in the house still, can't go anywhere. So I remember one night, this was probably right around the time I was about to go full-time real estate, when I was still kind of in this process of, is this the decision I'm going to make? Because once again, I knew it was not something that my partner at the time supported. And so it's a big decision to go against like your husband and say,
Yeah.
not that you need permission from anyone, but you're a partnership, right?
Right.
So I knew that was going to be a big deal if I made this decision to go for my dream and it wasn't supported.
Right.
And I was watching this video on Instagram, and it was this girl on the top of a mountain. There was a song playing. The lyrics were, "Nothing hurts anymore. I feel like I'm free." And she looked so happy, like so free. She just looked like there was nothing in the world that could stop her. And I thought to myself, wow, I know I'll never feel happy again like that, but it must be nice. And it was like I separated from myself and slapped myself across the face. Like, what do you mean you're never going to feel happy like that again? You're 34 years old.
Mm.
Why is this okay? Why are we living this way? Why? What is going on here? What do we need to change? And that was like a really pivotal moment for me, where I realized that the situation I was in was not going to be the situation that was going to make me happy. And I have so many more years to live. And I needed to figure out exactly what I needed to do. And they
Mhm.
weren't going to be easy decisions, but they were decisions that had to be made. Because at the end of the day, like, you're responsible for your own happiness. If you have a partner and it doesn't work and you're unhappy, you staying is on you.
Right.
You know,
True.
like, you
Yeah.
can't change somebody and you can do everything you can to change them. But if the decision is still, hey, I'm me and you're you, and this is not compatible, one of you has to make the
Mhm.
decision.
Yeah.
And so I think that was like rock bottom number one, realizing that I was staying in a scenario because I felt a lot of shame about, I'd only been married for 2 years. I've gained all this weight. Who's ever going to want me?
Mhm.
All this fear wrapped up in it. And I just made a decision at that moment that it didn't matter. My happiness was going to be paramount over any shame that I might feel about it. So that was like step one. And at that moment, so I made the decision to leave my full-time salaried career in June of 2021. And then August of 21 is when I decided to separate from my husband.
Mm.
So that was like rock bottom number one, right? Now we've separated from the husband, and now we're in this, oh, I have to deal with all the emotions that come with that. And that was when I actually started drinking pretty heavy.
Mm.
And because we were separating time, we were living together still, but I was, I would take the day shift and he would take the night shift. So I would leave the house at night so that we would each have our own separate space and time. And best thing I could think to do was like go out to clubs or go out to bars or meet up with people. And I just found myself drinking really
Yeah, 'cause you didn't want
heavy.
to be
I
alone.
didn't want to be
Yeah.
alone. And I was, I was relieved that I had made the decision because I knew the future could be brighter, but I was so scared. And I think like I had to numb that
Mhm.
fear because I had to like wake up every day and put one foot in front of the other, no matter what. This is a decision you made. This is what we're doing. I had never lived alone before in my
Wow.
life. Now I'm going to
Mhm.
go live alone with a 1-year-old.
Mm.
Oh, okay. That's going to go. I remember on like trash day, like living by myself. And I was like, the trash is really piling up. I was like, oh, that's because you have to do the trash now. It's on you. You don't have a husband anymore.
Oh, wait.
Oh, it's my job. So that lasted until, I moved into my new condo in November. And by December, my body crashed out. My body gave up on me. I was in bed for 3 weeks. I was sick. I had
Oh.
bruises all over my body. I couldn't.
What was that from?
I think my body I think I went for 3 straight months on a bender, pretty much in
Were you
between.
still on all the antidepressants and
Yep.
Oh,
drinking and still
wow.
eating and
Yeah,
all that
all of
stuff?
it.
Oh,
Yeah, all of it. And now going through a divorce.
yeah.
Now,
I used to do that shit too. I used to drink.
yeah,
I used to eat 2 pints of freaking gelato a night
yeah,
with like a full pizza and like. My thing was I lived on Federal Hill, so my grocery store was Walgreens.
yep,
So it was like frozen dinners, sun chips, pistachio ice cream, and like Cheez-Its. That
yep.
was my diet for like a year. And I just blew up. Same thing. I gained like
Yeah.
100 freaking pounds in a full depression. And yeah, that happened so quick.
So
It
quickly.
happened so quick.
And it becomes just as addictive as anything else, right? The sugar, the
True.
carbs,
Yeah, it
the
does.
comfort.
I still have trouble with gummy candies, like candy, like the gummy kinds.
Yeah,
I still take down a bag every couple weeks.
yeah.
Yeah.
Moderation. I'm with you. It's all about balance.
Yeah.
So like that, when that happened, because now I'm trying to take care of this 1-year-old baby. My body, I am sick as a dog. I've moved into this 800 or 900 square foot condo from a 3,000 square foot house. There are boxes from the floor to the ceiling. Oh, by the way, you now work for yourself and you have to go make money. And you don't know how to do that yet because you don't have a full-time job anymore. And so that was like rock bottom number 2, right? That realization of you did this to yourself. You put yourself here. And so that's when I decided that I wanted to cut back on drinking. That was the original plan. We'll just cut back. Like,
Yeah.
we don't need to drink this much. And I quickly realized that I am just somebody who's like a very all or nothing person. And I didn't have good habits around alcohol. So to go from like 2 decades of bad habits around drinking to, oh, I'll just have 1 glass of wine at dinner.
Right.
It wasn't like
It's not
Doesn't
the
work.
feasible,
same.
So for the next couple of months, I tried to curb the drinking, glass here, glass there. And it just quickly became, that's not something that you're able to do. And I had to accept that. And so in March of 2022, I did a visualization exercise of the ultimate, like, who is Connie in her highest and best form? What does that look like?
Mhm.
What does she wear? Who does she hang out with? What do her days look like? And then I asked myself, like, what is the one thing holding you back from meeting her? The only thing I could think of was alcohol.
Wow.
All right, let's take a quick commercial break to bring you our sponsor, Burns Roofing. I've been personal friends with Eric for over 20 years. He's an incredible stand-up businessman. And if you ever need anything regarding roofing in Rhode Island and Massachusetts, give them a call. They do honest, hard work, and he is my go-to whenever I need anything in roofing needs. So this was you and what?
So that video of me crying is me packing up my house.
So that's in 2018, 2017.
No, this is actually packing up my house after my divorce. So this is 2021.
Okay.
This is packing up my house 2021, and then it jumps to 2024. And then the other video
Go to the next one,
that's
Ash.
pinned is just shows a bit of my roller skating journey. So like this is when I first started skating. I was still heavier. I had lost a little bit of weight, but this was like within the first year of me skating because the rink just was so therapeutic for me. And I knew I looked like a crazy person. I don't want anyone to think that I didn't understand that.
That shit's hard. I went the other day when you invited us, and I'm like, I don't know, this is too much.
It's so hard.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
Yeah.
And so I think that it was really almost like a testimonial to like how my life was at the time. Like I just kept falling and failing in life. And then I kept falling and failing on.
What got you into
rink.
roller skating and like the whole moniker of the RealEskater? How'd that start?
Yeah. So in March of 22, I did this visualization exercise. I decided to stop drinking, and I didn't know if it would be a long-term thing. I just really had the goal of 30 days.
Wow.
Like, let's go 30 days without alcohol and see what happens. And as anyone who's stopped drinking, even if you do a sober January, you take 30 days away from alcohol, and it's like to the veins. You're like, wow,
man.
like I have so much energy and I'm getting up and I'm doing all these things and I'm not tired and I'm not anxious.
I don't have joint aches. I don't have, my face isn't red all the time.
The inflammation.
My chest pains are gone. Like everything. I was getting the craziest pains, and I would always tell Sheena, like, I don't know where this shit's coming from. I get these pains all over the place.
Yeah.
At night, my chest hurts. I feel like it's just like I'm having a heart attack. In the morning, my heart's beating. My blood pressure's out of control. Why? I was always looking for all these different reasons.
Could it be the poison that we're putting in our
Right.
bodies?
Didn't even think of that. Maybe it's the peptides. Maybe it's this. Maybe it's that.
Yeah.
I decided to stop drinking. I'm like, I want to stop drinking. This is just, because I didn't enjoy it anyway. I don't get drunk. I just like sip a glass of whiskey, have wine with dinner. Completely stop cold turkey. I remember the night we did. I'm like, all of these things are gone now.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yep.
The poison that I was putting into my body was why I was all
You were
fucked up.
paying to put into
It was
your
crazy.
body.
Yeah, it was like a realization, like,
for it.
oh, I'll never drink again.
Once again, like I said, it always comes down to like, we're our own problem.
Yeah, for
Oh, for
real.
sure.
Like
Yeah.
hands down.
So I had stopped drinking. I was on like day 30 or so. And I remember over COVID, I had watched on Instagram and TikTok, I saw everybody roller skating because that's when it got big again. It had this resurgence, and thinking, wow, it looks so fun. They look so graceful.
Yeah.
It looks so easy. It's not. And I had kind of forgotten about that. And I was scrolling through my phone and I saw an old screenshot from an adult night at United Skates. And I think that this was maybe like a Tuesday or a Wednesday that I saw this. And that was the next night. And now I've hit my 30 days. I've got to make a decision. Am I going to stay sober or am I going to go right back? And so on day 32 of no alcohol, I chose to go to a skate rink instead of a bar.
Wow.
And I just never turned back.
Oh, that's so cool.
It was the coolest experience. I fell on my ass within 3 minutes of being there. I was hugging the wall the entire time. There was nothing about that night that should have made me come back.
Right.
But there was just something about it, like the community that was there. People were so nice. Everyone helped me.
Aww.
Every time I fell, people were like,
she needs help. Let's help her.
She needs a lot of help. And I left there, and I have a video of me leaving there, and I have tears coming down my face. And I was like, I got hurt, but I'm not crying because I'm hurt. I'm crying because I feel free. This felt free to me.
Yeah.
I want to do this again.
Yeah.
And it took me a couple of weeks to get back. I was in pain. I was in a lot of pain. But it was one of these things where it was like, once again, like when you decide to stop drinking, you make that decision every day. I never did a program. I didn't work in AA program, but I took a lot of the advice from those who are in AA. And it really is, you
One day
just
at a
stay
time.
sober today.
One day at a
We're
time.
not going to worry about tomorrow. We're going to worry about today. And that was the approach. And so because I didn't have any hobbies and I didn't have anything that I really knew that brought me joy, I latched on to roller skating because it was the first time that I ever had a hobby that didn't revolve around alcohol.
Yeah.
And slowly, as I progressed through it and as I got better, and I noticed that my body, because I didn't lose a ton of weight at first just from roller skating because I was still eating and I wasn't moving. That was the only exercise I had. But I did start to notice how much stronger I felt, my legs, I was toning up a bit. And that first year of skating was it was so transformative on the inside. Recently I had a magazine reach out to me saying, or an online magazine, and they said, we'd love to do a story on your weight loss. And I had to course correct and say, this is not a weight loss story. This is a transformation story. The weight loss was a physical manifestation of the self-love
due to the transformation
that I poured into myself. Right?
Can we pull up that article?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yeah. So
Is
today,
it live?
So NBC Today did the article. So the Daily Mail is, I guess, that's who's emailed me. So we haven't done the article yet for the Daily Mail.
So is this the Today Show? Is this like the Today Show?
Yeah. So this is the NBC Today show. This is their online version of just their articles that they post. And so this was Rachel Abrahamson. She reached out to me and just said she was really inspired by my story. She actually stopped drinking alcohol herself.
Wow.
So my story resonated with her. She lost a lot of weight when she stopped drinking. So they did an amazing job at presenting.
How long did you spend with them, kind of just like telling them the story?
An hour, just about an hour.
And then they spun it. That's awesome.
Yep. So it was really cool.
So did they reach out to you through Instagram?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Talk about the opportunity that has came into your life through Instagram.
It's wild. It's wild. I started posting I've always posted on Instagram, but I started using Instagram as a tool to share my story when I was like 6 months out of the divorce when I first stopped drinking.
Yeah.
Because I really never made any announcement. Like, okay, I'm Connie and I'm divorced now. Like there was none of that. It was all of a sudden 6 months later, I pop up in a new place with a new career and I'm not drinking alcohol anymore. Like, oh, hey, everybody, how we doing?
You have a growing baby.
Yeah, all of it, right? And so for the first couple of years, I look back at those videos and I cringe a little bit, but if you're not cringing at yourself, then you weren't trying hard enough. Like you weren't putting yourself out there enough to really make an impact. And so the first couple of years were a little cringy. I was figuring it out. I was understanding like, what is my place in this social media space and world? And I got a lot of slack from some friends and family. Like, the best advice I can give someone is you are not posting for your friends and family.
Yeah,
right.
No, don't listen to
Block
anything.
them
I know,
all.
for real.
Block them.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to understand it. They only know the version of you. They know the version of you from before, or maybe they do know the everyday version of you. But when you're on social media and you're building a brand on social media, you are going to show up a certain way and you're going to do things that are outside of your comfort zone.
Right.
But I noticed that when I was putting myself out there, it made other people uncomfortable because they would think of, well, if that was me on screen, I would never want to show that side of me. Like the crying on camera and some of the reels that have millions of views start off with me sobbing.
Yeah.
Because it's a real life moment.
Your moment.
But that's what people want to
moment.
resonate with. That's how probably Today reached out to you, is because they saw real moments like that.
Absolutely.
So like for her, what's her name again?
Rachel Abramson.
Rachel Abrams. That's right. I actually know of her. For her to reach out to you and be inspired by your stories, it's because she saw the raw side version of Connie and she felt like there was a story there. So, I mean, how did you feel when Today reached out to you? Like, what was that like? Because that's a big deal.
So there's a video of Autumn and I were sitting having dinner.
That video, yeah.
Yeah, I was sitting having dinner and I was just about to record her and I, because she loves to be on camera now. So I don't put her online too much, but she loves to be on camera.
Good.
And I got a DM as I was about to record and all I saw was from NBC. I'm Rachel from NBC Today. And I just looked at Autumn and I was like, Autumn, NBC Today. And now Autumn's 4. She has no idea what NBC Today means, but she was like, we just had this moment. And it's so funny because I went to show her the article and she started crying. And I said, what's the matter? She said, you did this without me. I said, no, I didn't, honey. I wasn't on the show or anything. It was just a conversation. And look, your picture, you're in here. So it was a really surreal moment, though. It was definitely, which is interesting. So when I had my podcast last year, the day after we recorded the first episode, the girl that I did the podcast with, we messaged each other and we did like a little visualization exercise. And she said, isn't it amazing that like Good Morning America reached out to you or reached out to us, right?
Yeah.
And, so kind of on the same scale, NBC Today. And I was like, wow, the manifestations that you put into place,
It's
you just
so real.
don't know when they're
It's
going to
so
come.
real. I know.
And so what's interesting, like with the social media stuff, is back in January of 2021, when I first started manifesting, it's the first time I'd ever done it. The first manifestation I wrote down was I inspire thousands of people a day. And at this point, I probably had less than 1,000 followers. I hadn't even really started a social media journey. I just knew that was a goal of mine. It was like something I saw myself doing. And I wrote that down every single day for years. And in November of 2023, I had less than 2,000 followers. I've been posting daily now for almost 2 years. You get burnt out. I mean,
for sure.
People don't realize you have to think about engaging content 365 days a year.
It's a lot.
And then sometimes they want you to post 2 or 3 times a day.
Yeah.
So I was burnt. And being sober has got me to a higher power. I grew up Catholic. I would say I'm a recovering Catholic. I don't know exactly what I practice anymore, but I do know that I have a higher power.
Right.
And I got down on my knees and I was like, hey, God, long time no talk. Been a while. I have a favor. Could you please show me a sign that all of this work is for something? Because I don't know. Like, my family's giving me slack for it. People think I'm crazy. I have no traction, nothing to show for it.
Right.
All of this work, hours and hours of collecting the content, editing the content, writing a caption. Just show me, like, is this the right move? And I went to a holiday party that night, and I must have had 6 people come up to me that I'd never met before and say, like, are you Connie TheRealEskater? I love your content. Keep going. I'm going to tear up. I'm going to tear up because it was such a moment.
Yeah.
You know?
Your confirmation right
It was
there.
that confirmation I needed. And 2 more months, I went viral for the first time.
Oh my gosh.
And then I went viral again and again. And so in November of 2023, I had less than 2,000 followers. And by November of 2024, I had almost 100,000.
Wow, that's incredible.
And it was wild.
Yeah, that's insane growth. That's a lot. And like you said, it burns you out.
It does.
You know, there's times where we just disappear for a week at a time, 2 weeks at a time, and we use old content because it's just like, man, I don't know. You know, I was doing this food thing for a while where I was just like kind of showcasing what I was eating, and that was getting a ton of traction. And same thing, I would go somewhere, oh, you're the guy with the cutting board and the blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, but at the end of the day, I didn't really even want to do it. It's just something that I started doing, or I made one video, it did really well. So I felt obligated to keep doing it because it was doing so well. And then it just gets to a point where I'm like, I don't really want to even do this anymore. So like, it's so up and down. The social media game is so crazy. And we're still trying to find like our niche, right? Like and like finally, I think I'm landing in doing, and this is what I would suggest anybody doing, getting involved in social media or trying to build a brand on social media. Do what you just love to do and do what you do anyway every day and learn how to monetize it. So for me, it's
1,000%.
business. For me, it's eating. For me, it's fitness and, you know, in the podcast. So those are like the 4 things that we just monetize or create now.
Your pillars.
Yeah.
You have to know your pillars. So I went viral a couple of times. Once I went viral for saying something about taxes. Like, it was just me kind of like popping off about like how much we pay in taxes. And next thing you know, all these people are like trying to follow me for financial advice. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm not a financial advisor. I was just pissed off at the IRS. I went viral one more time making my bed. I was like giving a tip on like the best. I'm probably at that time I was making my bed once a year.
It's so weird. It's so weird what goes viral and what doesn't.
But then all of a sudden you get all these followers and they think they're expecting something. So like you have to stay true to what you enjoy, because if you're going to create content every day and be a content creator, and that's like something that you want to do, you do not want to do it for something that you don't find joy in. And as entrepreneurs, we can monetize a lot of different things, right? We could go a lot of different routes. I could learn the stock market if I wanted to. That's not something that brings me joy. I don't want to sit and look at a screen and look at trends all day. So although I'm smart enough to do it and I've got the capacity to learn it, it's not where I'm going to find joy. Mm-hmm. And I think you have to be very intentional about what you're going to spend your time on, because it will drain you if you don't spend it on the right things. And then you go viral for the wrong reasons. And now, like you said, you feel obligated to put out this content because you've created this audience that wants it.
Yeah. I went viral for eating in my backyard on a cutting board.
Yeah.
And it's like, why? I mean, this is just like any other video I make. Why is it this one that, went viral. So again, I felt obligated to make more. And then I'm like, I remember that day at the kitchen table, I'm like, all right, we'll try it again. Do it. All right, try it again. Take number 3. Fuck this. I don't want to do this shit anymore.
Yep.
Throw it. And it's just like, we move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
I just want to talk about the state of where the real estate market is right now.
Sure.
I want to get into property development, or I
Mhm.
want to get into investing in properties some kind of way, whether it's a duplex, a 3-family, which I heard kind of stay away from right now because 3 families are like, it's not really a passive income like it used to be. Duplexes are a little bit easier, or condominiums are a little bit easier because you have the associations taking care of the snow removal for you.
Mhm.
They do the trash and all that, etc. So like you minimize your costs as a landlord. What would you give it? What advice would you give somebody first entering the market right now if they're looking to become, if they're looking to get into real estate as an investor or a developer?
I think with the way the prices are and the interest rates, the most equitable way to do it is to house hack. So buy a property, buy a multifamily, buy something that you can own or occupy, go in a really low down payment,
Refi, pull it out, and do it
3.5%.
again.
Yep. Stay there for a year or two, whatever your loan term is that says how long you have to stay there, and then get out and do it again to the next property. Because the prices right now, in order to cash flow a property, you have to get it at the right price. So unless you have connections and you're meeting someone and they're gonna Sally Sue's aunt is gonna sign over a property to you because she really likes you, she
Right.
doesn't want to go on the market, you found a great deal. Anything that's market value right now, when you do the math on what a 7% interest rate looks like on a loan, you're going to have to spend a pretty penny. So you may not cash flow. You may be buying for equity build, but you may not cash flow right away. But when you go in as an owner occupant, you're now living there. You have somebody else contributing to that mortgage. You can do that on a short term and you can go to the next. I think that is right now the most equitable way to get into the multifamily space.
I just have a question as far as your Instagram. So you said it took a couple of years and then you went viral. How many years exactly before you went viral?
3.
3 years?
I started really getting into posting and just trying to be better at making videos and jumping on trends probably in 2021.
Yeah.
So
Jumping on trends.
jumping on
yeah.
trends. And now now it's different. Now the algorithm's different. Now the algorithm, where we used to have voiceover trends and things like that.
Right.
Now the algorithm wants education. It wants you to give value. It wants you to have highly produced content. TikTok is where I just get feral. Like I'm my most feral self on TikTok,
Yeah.
but like my following is mostly on Instagram.
Mhm.
But it was finally going viral too for something I felt passionate about, right? Like my transformation, my skating, that was something that I finally got on video. And I think once I found, because then I went viral a couple of times and then I kind of plateaued and then I was trying different things. So then I had to go back and do an audit of the last 90 days to find what posts performed the best. What was my audience looking at? What content did they like? And it came down to they liked storytelling, they liked transformation, they like to see a before and after.
Of course.
And they love to see hateful comments that I post over my videos. Like when I have a troll that says something horrible and I'll just post their name, their handle, and what they said. And those videos go off the charts.
Really?
Because I think it becomes this army of we're going to protect you and we're going to talk back. And
yeah.
I don't let anything get to me anymore. I mean, I was a child of the 90s.
Yeah,
We've
for
had
real.
way worse things said to us
Yeah,
than some stranger on the internet telling me I'm
Yeah.
fat. Like, well, that's the best you got. It was called fat in 4th grade. Like
PHAT
yeah,
to
exactly.
you.
That's
Oh, pretty hot
I'm tempting.
yes.
Mhm.
Please.
For real, we were born in the 90s. You are not getting to me.
Yeah, there's
Some
nothing you
troll on the internet is not even coming close to me.
Listen, do you even know what age, sex, location stands for?
Yeah.
We've been around.
I
We've
was
been in this
reading
game for so long.
ASL this morning. ASL.
Yeah. Oh
ASL.
wow, you just brought back a memory there.
I did.
ASL.
But social media is a place where you have to do a little trial and error. You have to be willing to be cringy. You have to be willing to put yourself out there. And you have to know that not everything is going to hit. Like not everything is going to work. I even still suffer from when I post a video and it doesn't perform well.
Yeah.
Like I have a bad day sometimes. I'm like, all right.
Why?
We got to chill for a sec. We can't be on all the time.
Yeah.
And I think you have to decide like there's going to be the videos that you pull a new audience in and then you have to cater to your audience you have. So my audience is 97% female, 25 to 55. Majority
Wow.
of them are 35 to 45. That's my biggest age bracket. They're people who are inspired by transformation, that are going through major life transitions, and they want to know that they can do it too.
Yeah, true.
And I believe I'm special because we should all believe we're special. but there's nothing so special about me that you can't do exactly what I did if you want to take control of your life.
Yeah.
You just have to make some really hard decisions, and you have to make those decisions every day. And it's very small changes. Like, I didn't wake up and decide, okay, we're going to stop drinking, start roller skating, tackle our eating issues, stop our toxicity with dating men that are emotionally unavailable, that are bad for us. Oh, and we're going to build a career. Like, I didn't do all that in a month. I did all that over 2 years.
Right.
And if you try to do it all at once, I think that's why so many of us fail.
Yeah, because they want it right away. And when they don't
Yeah.
see it, they give up.
The
We live in an instant
gratification.
gratification world. I
Mhm.
want it. I want it. I want it.
Mhm.
Well, if you really want it, you have to work towards it every single day. And I've always been someone that I want immediate results. I've always done fad diets. I've always jumped on the latest trend. And this was the first time in my life that I just knew that this was not anything that was going to happen fast. And I had to keep reminding myself that 1 year from now is going to come whether I want it to or not. 2 years, 3 years, tomorrow, what the future comes whether you ask it to, it doesn't matter. Time stops for no one. So if I want to be a person that I'm proud of in
Mhm.
2 or 3 years, then what I do today is going to matter. Like, that future self is going to thank me for having the discipline. Because it's not motivation.
You're right.
Motivation is fleeting.
Yeah, motivation is a
comes-
word that I'm starting to not like anymore, to be
No,
honest.
comes and goes,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But discipline, that's a different story.
Yeah,
That is
anybody can be motivated. It's
Yep.
like what you do with it. Like,
Right.
motivation's cool, but what are you going to do with that motivation?
Motivation's like the cheerleader within you. Because you need to have that cheerleader
get
to
up
say,
and-
you know what, but ultimately it is the discipline that
right.
it's
And
the discipline.
Like,
with
I
it.
think that's a good point, though. Like, motivation is what you need on the days where the discipline's hard to stick
Right.
to.
Yeah.
But yet that discipline piece is what's going to get you to next.
Mhm.
Like, those repetitive actions, those small steps that you take every day. And those are building blocks, right? So, hey, we've laid a foundation. So for me, it was I laid a foundation of I'm not going to drink alcohol anymore. So we laid down one piece of slab.
Right. Yeah.
And then the next one was I'm going to do something that's healthy for my body and my mind. So I'm going to start roller skating consistently once or twice a week. And then we're going to do that for 6 months. Okay, so now we're not drinking and we've added an activity. Perfect.
What'd you do with your diet? How was your diet?
It was still like shit for a long time, if I'm being honest. I think once again I was still using food as a big crutch.
But you were just working out, roller skating, so it kind of was
Yeah, I
offsetting a
started
little
to
bit.
lose some weight. I started to tone up, and then I started trauma therapy. I do EMDR,
Yeah.
which I'm such a fan of.
What's that?
It basically uses the way I would explain it to like the everyday person is they can have you focus on like whether it's just like a pinpoint and you're looking and they're asking you certain questions, and wherever you feel emotion in your body, you kind of dig into that. They'll ask you questions and you process the trauma you hold trauma in your body. So it
So
processes
it's kind of
that
like look at the
trauma.
shape kind of thing.
So it depends. There's one that's a light that goes back and forth, and you're watching this light as they're talking to you, and they'll pause it, and you just stare at it. So it's almost like your frontal lobe is distracted, and it's allowing you to access other memories, past traumas, and talk through them. And you're not always even articulating and vocalizing the trauma. It's understanding where it lives in your body and breathing through it. We did an exercise the other day where it was like, where do you feel it? Okay, like now we're going to close our eyes. You're going to envision a bright light. What size is it? What color is it? What shape is that pain? We're going to let this bright light shine into it, and they're talking you through it. I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah,
If you've
no,
ever
it's-
done
yeah.
it.
So and then whatever you're thinking at that moment, that's what we're gonna try to work on.
Yeah, like we worked. So it really is understanding when was the first time you felt that, right? Like it usually goes back to your childhood.
Oh,
When was
okay,
the
I
first
got
time
it.
you felt this kind of anxiety? When was the first time you felt this kind of fear or this? How on a scale of 1 to 10, how intense is it? And then when you talk through it at the end, it's okay. How intense is it now? And typically, it's reduced pretty greatly. But that with talk therapy, which I did for a decade or two, I just felt like I was talking about the same past
Yeah,
experiences
that stuff can
over
be
and over and
dangerous in my
over
opinion.
again.
Yeah.
And with EMDR, I felt like, oh, this is a scenario I've talked about a multitude of times during therapy. But now like, okay, we left the session and it's no longer something that like haunts me. It's no longer
Yeah.
something I think about all the time. And so when I started trauma therapy, I started talking about my addiction with food and how I was using food to really cope in a lot of ways, especially without drinking. Like you stop one bad habit, sometimes you compensate with another.
Yeah.
And so it took a year of not drinking and a year of really just like trying to focus on healing my inner self. And then after a year, I was ready to, okay, I want to be a better skater. I want to show up at the rink and do better tricks.
Yeah.
My weight's getting in the way of that. So if let's start to work on some diet. So I started with intermittent fasting because it was easier for me to have a time limit that I would eat versus cut something out.
Yeah, that's how I started
yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like if you tell me I can't have something, I immediately am going to go binge eat
Yes,
that thing.
Mhm.
I
Like if
want
you
it.
tell me I can't have bread,
Mhm.
guess who's ordering a foot-long sub from Subway
Yeah.
tomorrow immediately. And so the intermittent fasting, I saw some really crazy results within the first 2 months. And at the same time, right after that, I talked to my doctor. I got off the Wellbutrin. I got off the Lexapro.
Good.
I decided to stop taking the Xanax.
Wow.
What was
on my
that?
own.
What was that like?
Oh, that was a tough one.
That's
but
a battle.
that was a
Handing
battle.
off Xanax is one of the hardest things I've ever done.
Benzos are the hardest thing to get off of, to
Yeah.
be honest with you. That one was a tough one because I was like an Adderall in the morning and a Xanax at night type of gal.
Wow, yeah.
You know, I still take the Adderall when I have to because it does help. Like I am someone whose brain is always going a million miles an hour, so it does help realign and focus when I need to. But I was really able to cut everything else out that period of time. And the Xanax, I think for me, it was no longer a tool to escape. Once again, just like alcohol was a tool to escape. Hey, we've got to sit with these hard feelings. We're going to have to sit with this uncomfortable self. We're going to have to put ourselves to sleep without a pill to do it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I just never knew who I was without any kind of substance. Like
Wow.
I had no idea who Connie was without birth control, without antidepressants, without anti-anxieties, without alcohol.
Yeah.
So meeting myself, like that was the goal. And I think that's what made it easier to come off all those things was because I just really wanted to meet myself and
Yeah.
understand who I was without all of these other things impacting how I thought, how I felt. And then once I met her, I liked her and I
Yeah.
wanted her to stick around.
Was there any kind of struggle getting off of the Xanax, like physical depression, like withdrawal symptoms or anything like that?
Withdrawal symptoms, I don't think so. Not that I recognized. I think it was more so having to really curb the behavior of just like I was used to being able to take a Xanny to go to bed.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
like I was used
It's
to
just
that.
Yeah.
easy.
And now that was not the case. So I think I probably stopped sleeping
Yeah.
as much.
Yeah,
I was
oh, yeah,
awake.
definitely.
You know, like I think that's when like my energy ramped up though, because the weight started to come off. It becomes this addictive, like, okay, well now I'm getting addicted to how good I feel.
Yeah.
And I really held on to that.
Definitely,
Right.
definitely.
Then I started a push-up challenge. I was like, okay, 1 push-up today, 2 tomorrow, 3 the next day.
Yeah.
So slowly I started layering in other things that I could do that were going to just impact me in a positive way. And the more I did that, the better I felt. I had like this really insane situation happen though. So right before I got off the antidepressants and right before I decided to truly start working out and work on my body and my mindset, once again, we talk about multiple rock bottoms, right? So third and final rock bottom was I met this guy off Hinge. And
Hinge is like a Tinder.
it's like
Yeah,
a
got
Tinder.
it.
Yeah. I met the most unhinged man you could ever meet on a dating site. He infiltrated my life in 5 weeks. Now here's the thing. I get love bombed really easily because like, why wouldn't you fall in love with me in 24 hours? It just makes perfect sense to me.
Right, of course.
Hello?
I am lovable.
I'm lovable. And so this man completely love bombed me. He told me he was a surgical technician from Newport. He had 1 child. He wanted to get married. He was looking for the love of his life and like just swept me off my feet. And this surgical technician from Newport, who was an Army veteran, who had all of these wonderful things about him. Actually, none of it was true. He had been fired from that job due to like domestic abuse and
gosh.
getting a DUI. He got dishonorably discharged from the Army, never even made it overseas. So every story he told me about his experience overseas was actually a lie.
Oh my gosh.
Wanted to start a business with me, had this whole business plan and was like, all you need to do is just co-sign for this vehicle because my credit's bad. And thank God I didn't.
Did you almost do it?
Oh, of
Oh
course
my
I did.
God.
Of course I
What?
did, Michael, because I am a woman in love. Right? Because, So when it all came out, he got posted on Are We Dating the Same Guy? Which I'm sure you guys have heard of this website.
No, I haven't. What
Oh
is
my
that?
gosh. Are We Dating the Same Guy has saved lives, I'll tell you.
Can you pull that up, Ash? I got to see this.
It's on Facebook. There's a lot of men that are very mad about it, but you wouldn't have to
No
be mad about it
freaking way.
if you weren't pieces of crap sometimes. And there are guys that can put on there that people say, oh, he's a wonderful guy. But Are We Dating the Same Guy is a website. It's a group on Facebook.
Holy crap.
Oh my gosh.
Are you in it, Ash? Ash is in it.
That was quick.
So it is a Facebook group, and they just made an app across platforms that will post men who could possibly not be great guys. And so, for example, I got a call the other day from a random guy. And he was like, oh, I matched you.
Say? I know this. Sorry.
Yeah, go for it.
I know this guy has been posted a lot. Cheating. My issue with him is actually never cheating. It was how much money he took for. Oh my God. Calling these guys out, huh?
Oh yeah.
Never gave it back to me. I'm all in. Bad things happen to me. Bad people.
That's the worst when they take your money.
So now this guy's on a podcast.
Yep.
Yeah. That's crazy. Well, listen, hey, there's these people do have to get called out if they're doing stupid shit like this. Then
I had
what it is.
I had a guy call me out of the blue the other day. He was like, hey, this is going to be so random, but we matched on a dating site. Now I have a profile, but I'm not on it much.
Yeah.
Because where would I find the time, honestly? And he's like, we matched on a dating site and I already had your number. And I was like, you did? That's really weird. Where did we match? And I was like in the middle of something. I was like, listen, I got to go, but interesting. Yeah. He starts sending me pictures, sending me messages. So I post him on one of these sites. I'm like, hey, this guy just called me out of the blue and said he knows me. 40, 50 messages.
No.
This guy has been, he's stalked people. He has restraining orders against him. Like, this is what he does.
Oh, wow.
Now,
look at all these. I want to keep going, Ash. I want to see if I know any of these
ladies,
people.
Post your man. Let's see who has the same one.
This is crazy.
Yep. And so the guy I was dating back in 2023 got posted here saying that he's got a wife. He's got this whole family. He's got, he's a bad guy. Come to find out.
So did you post him on here?
No, I was in love with him. Are you kidding me,
Of course
Michael?
not.
Michael, this was presented to me, and I was like, "Oh,
yeah, you're smarter than that.
He's got to have an answer for this." And he did. He had many answers, and it took about 24 hours for me to come to terms with like, okay, this is clearly he's not who he said he was, and the amount of shock though that went through my system from when I really found out who he was, like when I found out that this man is like unhinged, sociopathic, lied about everything, has a girlfriend of 23 years, had brought me to their house.
And a wife.
Had brought me to their house and told me that all the women's things at that house were his daughters, but really they were his girlfriend of 23 years. I got her on the phone and she straight up told me, because he would bring groceries to my house and say like, you're a single mom, you deserve to be like treated this well. He was taking the groceries from her house that she would buy and bringing them over and putting them in a grocery bag and saying that he came grocery shop. I'm just telling you, it was wild.
Oh
no,
my God.
Some of the stories that I do hear from dating, it's like it makes guys just look so bad. It's like it's some of the stuff that I've just heard. It's it's unbelievable.
But do you think it's because part of it? Do you think that because we grew up, our generation was exposed to like some hypersexual stuff, like especially like with pornography being so accessible and OnlyFans.
Well, it was new. It was like new because it was It was so accessible because the internet just dropped. You had AIM, so talking dirty was like a thing at such a young age.
You're not trying to get the TV to get to the one channel where you can see Showtime after dark or whatever, Skinamax.
Yeah.
And I think that like we've done men a disservice because we have taught them to hypersexualize women, and we've made it so that like women's value is so sexualized these days.
I want to say marketing women and sexuality has always been a thing.
Yeah,
and
true.
Before we were marketed for our sexuality and then labeled whores for doing the same exact thing that we're not getting paid for, we were property to men.
Yeah.
We were known, when you got married to a man, you were his property.
Yeah.
So I don't even want to go to this topic because it'll be another hour.
Okay.
But
Sheena and I are going to have our own podcast on this one day. We're going to talk about
we've
this.
gone through a lot of shit. Yes, the internet definitely sexualized us that much more. And OnlyFans and just feminism, even going to the government who pushed feminism, changed all of it for us too. So it's just, that's a whole nother podcast. It really is. I can't even.
And what's interesting is, you know, like sometimes I think like being a feminist, it has like a negative connotation, like, oh, you're a feminist.
Yeah.
The definition of feminism is thinking that women should have equal rights.
Yeah.
That's literally like the definition. And then like, why is that a dirty word?
It became a dirty word because of the way, I mean, it's broken up families. Before, like, really, feminism screwed women. Now, not only do we still do all the dishes, the laundry, take care of the kids, but now we have to work too. So it's not even like that was a big thing.
If you were the bum.
No. It's
the working
just
part anyway.
It's the expectation though, I think, and this is actually something that like I'm touching on Sunday on my speech, is like we are expected to do it all, but the game has changed. The way that we have to live has changed. You cannot survive anymore. Some people can survive on one salary, but it's a rare occurrence. Both people are contributing to the household, but there is still this mentality of, and not even sometimes from the other partner. As a woman, you feel guilty. Like I feel guilty that I don't, I can't run my house and run a business. Oh, and run this social media business. Like I had a lot of guilt that I couldn't show up in every way. And that would be wild. Find me
one. But he probably didn't expect that.
Well, so this is even as a single woman, right? Like even as a single woman now, being in the position I'm in.
A real guy wouldn't expect that. A real man wouldn't expect that.
I agree.
For real.
I agree.
But
do I expect that?
How many real men are there though? That's the problem.
Well, that's another thing that I was going to say. It's like, I find it fascinating that guys are so different from all different spectrums of life that you're right. There isn't many. And most people that we meet that I think are real men, I find out they're not.
Well,
so it's it's fascinating. That is a good question. I don't know, but I know that
the tables turn too, even with men. Before, men were providers. Now with also the government system making it like people that are using state assistance, they're not allowed to have men in their houses, otherwise they won't get that state assistance. So the tables turned dramatically.
That's crazy.
Like, so men aren't even men anymore. It's rare to find.
Listen, all I know is that I have a duty to provide for my household, for my children, for my wife, and nothing will get in the way of that. And that's how I roll, right? Not everybody needs to, but that's what I do, and that's how I think a man should.
I agree. And I think the toughest part about being like a strong, independent female who is in business and a business owner, I have men that will say to me, like, I love how independent you are. I love that you're a boss. I don't want to have to take care of anybody. Oh, hold up, sir. Never did I say that because I'm a boss, I don't want to be provided for. Now, when I say provided for, I don't mean like you need to, or you have to pay for every single thing in my life. Like, if you want to, that would be wonderful. We can talk about that. But a provider mindset is somebody who, regardless of what your woman is doing, regardless of how she's getting her bread, you have the mindset that I want to take care of her. I love her. I want to provide for her.
I'm the foundation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we've gotten so far away from that I had like a long distance situationship for about 5 minutes that we tested out the waters. He came to visit, bought 2 dinners, 2 coffees, a brunch, and an appetizer. And there was a comment made about like how he had paid for a day and a half worth of food, like he made a kind of a comment about it, like, oh, like, are you going to expect like if you come out to see me, like for me to pay for your ticket?
Like red flag right there. Like, weird.
I have picked you up from the airport to Boston and Rhode Island. Yeah. I have driven you around for 2 days. I have filled my fridge with all of your favorite snacks and treats so that you could enjoy your time here. I didn't realize we were keeping track and keeping score.
No good.
That's not my,
Big
thank you so much. Have a great day. This isn't going to work.
And that's one thing I must say about you too, is like he allows me to grow in my space, in his space. We grow together, we grow but that's what a man should do. He does exactly what I expect. Like I want to be emotionally taken care of more than financially. Financially is always going to happen. You always find a way to pay everything. But like it's the emotional, it's the growth. It's so much more than who's going to pay for dinner.
Right. It's so much more than that. And that's so like that's an area where that guy was exposed on Are We Dating the Same Guy? He was one of the first men who I had ever felt truly had a provider mindset. Mind you, I didn't realize he was providing with another woman's money. And groceries.
True.
Had no idea that was happening.
You were hoodwinked.
But I was so hoodwinked. But so like that was actually such a shock to my system that number one, I always think everyone's inherently good. So to be duped like that, but it was also another moment where I had to look in the mirror and say, you did this to yourself. You did not vet him. You did not make him earn your trust and love. You immediately accepted what he gave you. You ate it up with a silver spoon and took it for his word without making him really prove anything. And that shock to my system is what really like pushed me into that final piece of my transformation, because I cut off dating after that. I got off all the dating apps. I completely shut off from men. And I was like, listen, this was when I was going dead broke too, because I hadn't been paying attention. He had promised me the world. He was going to take care of me. He was going to be there for me and my daughter, right? How easy it was to think, oh, well, there's the solution to my problems. And so that shift was when I really went all in on myself, because no one's coming to save you.
Right.
That's it.
That's
no one's coming to save you. And now I believe that I'm going to position myself in a place where like the man out there who is going to be mine, he's not going to need to save me, but he's going to want to be there if I ever need saving.
And he's not going to need to say
he's
it
going
either.
to enhance everything that you already are.
So, and let me make this very clear. A man is nothing without a queen, with a good woman by his side. When I first met Sheena, I had, I don't know, $2,000 in my bank account. I was not successful. I had just started working for myself. I had just started these ventures. I had just started social media. I had just started all of my entrepreneurial journeys because I had just gotten over an addiction. So like 7 years of my life was in the gutter, and I'm just starting to crawl out of it. When I met her, I let her know that when she was going to be with me, if she chose to be with me, that I was going to be able to provide no matter what. Right. I remember there was a specific moment at my house where she was like, you need a new bed. You need a new mattress. Like, this is all like 20 years old, which it was like, I don't care about that shit. So she's like, let me see your card. And I want to order you a new, what was it?
You needed a new
bed frame because mine was falling apart. Right. And, I tried playing it off all smooth. I'm like, yeah, I got money. Yeah, whatever. I gave her the card, right? And I'm like, please don't be over
immediate transfer.
Please, no, not even a transfer. There was no money to transfer. There was no money to transfer. I'm like, please don't be over 2,000. Please don't be over 2,000. It was like 1,800 or something. And I'm like, oh my God. So I played it off, and I'm like, that's when I realized, I'm like, listen, if I want to have a relationship with her, if I want to be a man that I say I'm going to be, right? If I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do, then I need to step it up and I need to make some changes. So I remember that was one of the pivotal moments where I was like, let's step this thing up. And like months later, I think she believed in me from the very start, right? Whether she knew what I had or knew what I didn't have. So it's important that when you find a guy, right, you believe in him just as much as he believes in you.
1,000%.
And that should be the core of your relationship. It shouldn't be about money. Nope. It shouldn't be about who gets more groceries. It shouldn't be about like any of that stuff. It should be about, I'm going to believe in you. You believe in me, and let's take this thing to the moon.
And then you don't, as a woman, you don't resent doing the dishes. You don't resent doing laundry. It's just part of your life. You want to take care of your king. Exactly.
And I think it's really cool that like you touched on that, because there is a difference. I think there's two kinds of men when they meet women like Sheena and I, right? And I'm going to say that. There's the man who's going to look at what we're doing and feel intimidated by it and try to bring us down 5 notches to where they are. Or there's the man that says, as you did, okay, I got to step up my game to meet where she is, because this is where she is and I want to be up there with her. So if you have the mindset that you're going to build together and be this powerhouse team, relationships are not 50-50. They're 60-40, 30-70, 20-80, 90-100. Depends on the day. Who needs to show up today?
Depends on the month.
Who needs to hold the other person up today? And there's different phases of our lives where we need that. So when I was going through my tough decision of like, I want to leave my cushy career to go pursue my dream, but I knew that was I had this undeniable faith in myself that this was what I was meant to do.
Yeah.
And I had to go against my partner to do that. And that really sucked. That was a really hard decision to make, to say, I knew that was the nail in the coffin for my marriage. At the end of the day, whose fault is it? You can, whoever you want to say, but I knew that was going to be a nail in the coffin for us. But I also knew that as my partner, I wanted him to support me. In that.
Either you died with him because he wouldn't support you, or either way you would have died because you're not honoring yourself.
He wasn't the right person anyway. If he's not willing to believe in you and believe into like, if she told me she wanted to go start a trampoline house tomorrow or whatever, I'd be like, well, it's kind of stupid, but I guess we're going to do it.
Yes, we're doing it.
And how can we do it the best way possible? It's just like, and of course we have those conversations all the time because we're always like I was telling you earlier, it's like we start new things all the time, and whether they work or not, it doesn't really matter. It's like the fun is trying to find that one that is going to work. So,
learning
entrepreneurship
together
is throwing spaghetti at a wall.
It really is. So like the people that look at it from the outside perspective are like, oh, there he goes failing again. There he goes starting something and not finishing it. It's like, yeah, that may be true, but I'm not going to ever stop. And that one thing that I do is going to separate me from you.
Absolutely.
And that's it.
And if you think about all of the great companies and where they started and where they end up, like what Airbnb was a mattress on a floor.
Yeah.
I think I read that
Samsung was like a freaking
it was a vacuum or something
vacuum
different.
company or like something weird or like a pen. Nothing to do with what they do now.
No, Amazon sold books.
Yeah.
Now
which is still very lucrative as far as making money.
Yes.
Pivoting is the number one, that should be like at the top of the dictionary language of entrepreneur.
And pivoting fast.
Yeah.
Understanding, accepting that something isn't working and knowing like, okay, there's
acceptance.
There's more to go. Okay, I could put more into this. I could re-strategize, or sometimes looking at it and being like, nope, this is actually the end of the road for this. We're going to just let's learn what we can learn from this experience, apply it to the next thing. But if you're failing forward, it's that quote that says, the person who makes it versus the person who failed, like the person who made it just tried one more time. Like just one more time. And that's how I feel about social media. Like I would post and post and post. And then one day, that's all it takes.
Yeah.
You don't know when the next decision, the next meeting, the next person you talk to, the next deal. When I was in the very bottom of the depths of despair financially, it was every person I talked to, every deal that I had at that point in time mattered, right? All these small little deals added up.
Right.
And okay, I just made enough money to last 2 months. I have 2 months worth of money in the bank. So we just need to go get one more. It doesn't always happen in these huge monumental moments.
Right.
Sometimes it happens in very small increments, but you just have to know what's working and what's not. Take what's working and run with it.
True. And you have to take those moments to give yourself a trophy, a hug on the back, a friggin' cookie for those milestones that you've made. Like you have to give yourself the credit. And I harp on him about it because he's so forward thinking. He, like you guys were talking about earlier, like it's hard to turn that entrepreneur brain off. But at the same time, you have to slow down for a minute. That's why therapy works. That typical therapy for you works because they're forcing you to not think about entrepreneur anything. And for a minute, think about what's going on the inside.
We don't take time to celebrate our successes.
Yeah.
Sometimes when I think about where I am today versus where I was 2 years ago, and having that moment of like everything you have wished and desired and fought for is here.
Yeah.
Have you taken 1 second to sit and just say, wow, thank you, universe. And thank you, former Connie, for doing all that hard work to get us here. No, all I can think about is like, well, I don't have $1 million in the bank yet. And you know what? I have another business start. And like you can go so fast, but it is so true that like you have to stop to smell the roses. You have to understand where you gotta take the moment to accept where you are, or go by you so quickly without really giving yourself the credit you deserve.
Yeah.
I have a business partner. He's worth like, I don't know, 20, 30, 40, $50 million. He's worth a lot of money. And he said something to me the other day. He was like, most of the time, us people like myself who have sold companies for 20 million, 30 million, we say the same thing. It's like, oh, I can't wait to retire so I can go fishing and spend time with my family and, do the finer things in life. And he's like, I sat back and I was like, those are things that I can do now. Like, those are all things I can do now. It's like, you don't always have to be on go, and you can enjoy your life without having $5 million in the bank. And like money really, like I'm really getting to the point in my life where, and I went through a little spur. I was buying the Rolexes and I was buying
we got new vehicles. We
got
the
we
bigger
were just buying.
We did the certain things.
And now I'm like, I swear I'm at the point now where it's like, I don't even care about any of this shit
everything.
Anymore. I don't care. Like I had the Ferragamo shoes, the belts, it's like, why? I'm going to continue wearing this H&M $20 shirt.
Yeah.
And I'm at that point where it's like, I don't care
yeah.
about this shit anymore.
Someone asked me the other day, why does your car not reflect your success? And I was like, depreciating asset. And
Yeah.
honestly, I don't want
Yeah,
another
yeah.
car
Roll
payment.
up.
Yeah.
You know, but because I'm in this build phase where like almost every dollar I'm making right now is being reinvested back into my brand and my business.
Good.
Yeah.
So, you know, my biggest, you know, splurges on myself is like I get a manicure and pedicure once a month.
Yeah.
But like other than that, like every dollar I'm making is going right back
Oh, yeah.
into
As it should.
feeding, you know, payroll and everything else that we're doing to build. But it's important to understand that kind of goes back to what we said earlier. Like you can get very caught up in the appearance of success and what we've decided as a society success looks like.
Right.
But true success, we've been fed this lie that you should work yourself to the bone so that
Right.
when you're almost 70 years old, you can have a decade of fun.
Of nothing. Doing
Why
nothing.
are we waiting until we're 70?
Exactly. I mean, even this is probably too deep right now, but everyone's always looking to heaven. Like when
Yeah.
they die, they're going to go to heaven. What about right now? Heaven
Yeah.
on earth. Like enjoy being alive down here. And then eventually,
Absolutely.
if that's where you're going to go, then that's where you're going to go.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I just think like this is the generation, our generation, Gen Z's already figured it out, but the millennial generation are starting to see what Gen Z has going on.
Yeah.
We see what the boomers did. We see what Gen Z's doing and we're like, ooh, I want what the Gen Z is doing.
Mhm.
They're enjoying their life.
Yeah.
They're finding ways to make money passively through all avenues. They have multiple forms and streams of income. They're utilizing that to fund their fun and really enjoy the life they have now. And that is the life that I have committed to. I'm in a build phase right now. There's not a lot of, I have so much fun doing what I'm doing because I love everything I'm doing. So I'm so grateful for that. But I also know that right now I'm in the hustle and I'm in the grind of it. And I had written a manifestation a couple of years ago. I found it in a journal that said, when I turn 38, that's when all of my visions are going to come to life. And I turned 38 in September and it's just been
pressure.
wild. Like, but it's all happened, you know, like it's all started to happen. I'm like, wow, okay, so this is a moment in time, but don't get too caught up in it. Make sure that you're still enjoying that time. So really finding time to like slow down and enjoy it is so important to the growth.
I think true success is really determined on your relationship with your wife, the relationship with your family, spending time with your friends, your loved ones, and, you know, just having the time to be able to do that stuff is important. Well, we'll end it on that. Connie, where can we find you on social media?
At TheRealEskater. Come find me, RealEskater. I service Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Connecticut. We just started a team. We've got any kind of life transition you're going towards. We can help you with your real estate needs. But if you need some life transforming too, there's something coming down the pipeline in that. So keep your eyes open.
Awesome.
We've got some big partnerships working behind the scenes right now. So really excited what this year's going to bring.
And we'll keep a lookout on today.com. And everybody go check out that article. Check out her Instagram. And Connie, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.